Oh my gosh. That fear had finally reached its logical conclusion. If they couldn't get information on Rika Fude, then something had happened to her. And the SDF was trying to cover it up. That fear had made its way into rumor. Everyone denied those rumors, of course. Give me a minute, I gotta get my cat some food. And that'll actually be the end of the first episode for YouTube. Yay! But of course, the sessions keep going. Oh my gosh, I just had to feed my cat real quick. Everyone denied those rumors, of course, but the only way to get rid of them was for the villagers to see Rika Fude safe and sound. That wasn't happening though, so the villagers' collective anxiety was only growing stronger. Oh yay, that is true. What do you mean no one knows how Rika's doing? Are you saying Rika got hit by the virus? Shh! You're being too loud. I don't know if it was the virus, but either way, she was taken into custody by the disease control squad. She hasn't been seen since. No one knows if she's safe. Several different people witnessed her being taken away, so that's certain at least. When did that happen? The day of the quarantine. And Sakato? She lives with Rika, so, well, if Rika fell victim to the virus, then as her housemate, Sakato would have. I don't know any info on that. Figures. The elders of the village may care about Rika, but they never wanted anything to do with Sakato. You think Sakato was taken to custody too? Doesn't sound like it. Though I think it's just basic disease control to suspect infection anyone living with an infected person. From what I'm hearing on the radio, only Rika was taken in. Sakato wasn't, apparently. Also, this part sounds kind of strange, but... Strange. Yeah. So you know how Sakato's parents were in favor of the dam being built, right? And how afterwards they died in an accident due to Urashiro-sama's curse. You're talking about the rumors that Sakato and the Hojo family are cursed and hated by Urashiro-sama. Yeah. There has also been a horrible group of people that said living with a cursed person like Sakato would cause her taint to pass on to the holy reincarnation, Rika. And now those people are starting to say this is Urashiro-sama's curse, that Sakato is to blame. Of course. Gonna blame Sakato. What? That's stupid as hell. Those jerks will blame Sakato at the drop of a hat. Of course it's nonsense, but people in the other areas are starting to say they might be able to quell Urashiro-sama's anger by binding up Sakato and sinking her into the swamp. And they're talking like they believe it too. No way. Are they savages now? Oh great, are they about to trigger the virus in all of them? I thought we were civilized. It's only been a week since our daily routines were broken, and we're already talking about drowning people in swamps. Rena's indigestion was justified, but thinking back on it, Himazawa was possessed by such strange beliefs long before this whole virus commotion. Himazawa had never shown any proof it was a civilized land. The people there simply acted that way. But once you tore away the facade, they quickly revealed themselves as adherents to some truly bizarre delusions. Judging from your expression, you're not going to tell us this was some joke all along, right? Are we going? Please tell me we're going. Fucking dashboard, go. I just lost internet in the middle of that. No. I don't know. Am I? Am I live? Yes, I am. Good. Of course it's unstable. No shit, because my internet just went out, you fucking piece of shit. Okay, so that just means I get this. I'll start doing that part just in case it goes wrong. So we'll see if we lose it again. If Rika's been taken into custody, that means Sakuto is currently living in that storage hut all by herself. She's in danger if they try to pull anything, isn't she? True. There's only so much Sakuto can do by herself. Wouldn't it be better to shelter her in our area? Wouldn't it? Rena's suggestion was a good one. If we left Sakuto alone like this, then those caught up in those wild fantasies might go after her. But whose home would we shelter her in? According to Mion, the rumors that Sakuto was already infected with the virus are being spread as though they're true. Word of mouth, that primitive means of communication, was all Himazawa had. It was easy for rumors to work their way into such communication. Because of mass psychology, people convince themselves those statements are true, embellishing them even further until they become established fact. At that point, the truth won't matter. Sakuto will effectively become one of the affected. Once that happens, whichever home takes her in will face the same treatment. It went without saying, but Mion's home, the Sonozaki family, were already on bad terms with Sakuto and the Hojo family. It would be extremely difficult for Mion's family to shelter Sakuto. If I remember from it, I believe I know where she goes. What about my family? My mother would probably understand, but considering the fact my father is still ostensibly refusing to expose himself to the outdoors, I couldn't imagine him taking Sakuto in. Yeah, I know it's impossible for your families, so if we do end up sheltering Sakuto-chan, I'll shelter her in my home. Don't worry. I won't let my father voice any objections. I have no idea why, but Renda held control of her family's finances. So if she got serious, she could make her father give in. Made me sad that I couldn't stick my chest out and say my family could too. And I hated that she just assumed it wasn't possible, but I couldn't do anything about that. It's not like that pride would matter in this situation. Alright, if we can make contact with Sakuto, we'll tell her to head to Rena's house. I wish I could reach out to her myself, but from what you've told us, Mion, it sounds like the area around Sakuto's home is dangerous. That's because there's a lot of strong believers who live around there. But to be honest, Sakuto's not the only problem. Depending on how it goes, both of you two could be in trouble too. Mion's eyes grew even sharper, looking back and forth between me and Rena. Even though she was worried about Sakuto, the chill in her gaze was enough to shred the naive thought that at least we would be safe. I mentioned this the other day, right? The rumors that this virus might be indigenous to Himazawa. They're both from outside of Himazawa. Those rumors are starting to gain a lot of traction. Some are even saying every villager's probably been infected for hundreds of years. But that's just crazy. If that were true, then people would have been dying every day way back when. Well, the ones insisting on that argument have an interesting idea. They're saying that the virus remains stable and harmless so long as you stay in the village. They go even farther, arguing that the families who have lived in this village for many, many years are all born with immunity that keeps them safe. I don't get it. So what? Are you telling me they're saying that people like Rena and I who moved here from outside are at risk because we don't have that immunity? That's exactly it. They're saying our harmony or whatever with the virus is collapsing because of the people moving into Himazawa. And that's making the virus go crazy in everyone. Uh nah. You're not telling us you believe such an outrageous idea too, are you, Michan? Of course not. There's no way I fall for anything that sounds that crazy. But for some reason, everyone else believes it. I don't get it at all. Normally, no one would ever believe such stupid nonsense. But these past few days, those weird ideas and rumors are being passed around like they're just common sense. I've been listening on the radio since the very first day, but lately the villagers are believing weirder and weirder stuff. I don't know if it's mental stress or trauma or whatever, but calling it that is optimistic at this point. Oh, yay! These lies and rumors are running rampant, but no one is doing anything to stop them. If anyone tries, they could be treated as one of the infected too. It's getting really awful around here. Something's not right with people, so watch yourselves. Ren and I were both left speechless by Mion's desperation. It was clearly a good thing that we weren't able to listen to what she picked up over the radio. Thrust into these abnormal circumstances, their frustration had reached its peak, and that, along with anxieties and fears founded on faith, were producing new rumors one after another. So, the rumors right now that this came from the swamp. Again, hint, hint, hint. That Sakato, because her family agreed with the dam being cursed by Arashiro-sama, is the carrier, and that everyone in the town is immune to it, but because there's people moving in that either left the town, come back, or moving into the town, it's throwing everything out of whack. Hmm. Wonder what other part is true. It was steadily approaching the point where someone would have to be sacrificed in order to clear those rumors away. Judging from Mio's expression, we were already approaching that critical moment. That was the moment I first realized it. That there was clear hostility in the looks the villagers gave us as we talked to each other. Apparently, it wasn't just my imagination either. Rena was quick to pick up on that too. Yeah, the virus is triggered in them. Or the syndrome has triggered in them, I should say. Keiichi, protect yourself, okay? Yeah. Okay, we know Rena has her hatchet. Mion has her taser. Because Shion's the one with the gun. Rika never really had a weapon. Sakuto had her traps. Keiichi's the one that unless he goes into the school building and get the bat, or he already has the bat for some reason. That was always his weapon. I don't like being distrusted just because of stupid rumors, but it's best not to fuel the fire. Yeah, Rena, Kei-chan, you two should avoid going outside unless you have to. Also, make sure you don't go out alone. And seal your home up tight. If anyone says anything inconsiderate, don't provoke them, no matter how frustrating. Got it? The hostile looks I felt from time to time were too much to pretend I just imagined them. The cursed customs of a village that had avoided contact with outsiders for centuries weren't about to be brushed away by a scant few years of civilization. Rena and I could only nod in acknowledgement of Mion's warning, the tense looks clear on our face. Oh, yay. We're on the military side of this. Okay, Showa 58 HQ, General Affairs Division, Section 1, E-34, July 7th, 1983. Director of Disaster Relief, Himizawa Region. Evacuation orders, emergency. The Director of Disaster Relief is to evacuate the disaster relief units immediately. During evacuation, units are to follow the directions of the National Institute of Infectious Diseases. Notes, orders. Disaster relief units will follow the directions of the National Institute of Infectious Diseases and evacuate to the designated zone outside the quarantine. Reason. 2. Reason. Routine blood test detected a positive reaction for the type N173 virus in 4 squad members. This proves that disaster relief units' current equipment is ineffective at preventing infection. So, 58 HQ, General Affairs Division, Section 1, E-35, July 7th, 1983. Commander of the 738th Equipment Test Company. Dispatch orders, emergency. The 738th Equipment Test Company is to deploy immediately with version 13 disease prevention equipment under the command of the Director of Disaster Relief, Himizawa Region. Notes, orders. As of today, the 738th Equipment Test Company will be placed under the command of the Director of Disaster Relief, Himizawa Region. The test company should follow the director's orders and deploy on site immediately. 2. Mission. Peacekeeping in the quarantine zone. 3. Remarks. Discharge of firearms will be authorized under enclosed conditions. There it is. Alright, Will. July 6th, 1983. Alphabet Project Board of Directors, Director of Disaster Relief, Himizawa Region. Regarding the N173 virus. This virus has been classified as a Category C neuroparasitic virus, so it's a parasite. What follows is an explanation of its properties. Of all the viruses that infect the human nervous system, this one demonstrates extremely strong compatibility with mankind. Also, due to the difficulty of identifying symptoms in the affected, its existence was not confirmed until the modern age. According to an unofficial investigation conducted by the UN in 1948, over 99% of the human species contains this parasitic virus within their brain. Furthermore, it has been pointed out that it is likely this virus has been with humanity from the beginning. As that all suggests, this virus is extremely well integrated into the human body, and the host is unaware of the parasite. This makes the virus very similar to other microbes within the human body, such as E. coli, which is commonly known of today. No shit. However, the problem with this virus is that we have identified the possibility of this virus interfering with the host's brain functions. Hemisawa syndrome. This virus makes this host amiable to other hosts of the same strain, and it directs this host to be antagonistic toward hosts of different strains. Again, Hemisawa syndrome. The UN investigation has discovered several hundred strands that would be classified under this virus. And another shocking fact was uncovered as well. The distribution map of these strains, oddly enough, matches up with present-day national borders and religious distributions. Furthermore, it is suspected that each strain of this virus is deeply involved in shaping the foundation of its host's behavior and personality. So the theory stands that the unique traits of this parasitic virus are responsible for several tendencies generally attributed to race or nationality. Oh, yay. In other words, this virus is theorized to be indirectly responsible for all patterns within societies, personalities, and cultures of different ethnicities and nations. The first to uncover the existence of this virus was a German doctor within the Nazi administration. And it was theorized that this discovery led to the administration's massacre of particular peoples. Jews, blonde hair, blue eyes. The UN Secret Investigation Committee has identified the possibility that this virus has indirectly led humanity to commit its most heinous atrocities, and they call for the extermination of this virus. That call being held back by the fear that such an objective could trigger ethnic cleansing. As a result, all research on the virus was permanently prohibited in 1955, and they elected to discard the records of that research. This means humanity would preemptively embrace this parasite and prohibit the further discovery of its existence as well. Oh, yay! However, several countries continue to research the virus on their own in secret. Since there has been no exchange of information between these, the state of the research in other nations is unknown. Here in Japan, a research team was founded in secret by a group of medical schools in the late 1960s. Their research is the foundation for these current studies. America has caught wind of that this virus is the cause of the most recent incident, and they will be planning to steal our research. We must not respond to their attempt to claim that research disguised as offers of aid. Furthermore, amongst the strains of this virus, strain N173 is a rare variety which displays extremely dramatic symptoms. As I have already explained, traditionally this virus is extremely compatible with the human body and is totally unnoticeable. Yet the N173 strain causes dramatic alterations to personality within several days of infection. Higurashi syndrome. The most significant change is the promotion of anxiety and aggression. Delusion that everyone wants to kill you, harm you, and when to basically attack your friends. What does that sound like? Yet it retains the unique aspect of this virus, guiding those changes in psychology to occur naturally. The affected residents in the Himizawa region already tend to strongly exhibit those tendencies. Himizawa syndrome and have demonstrated the potential to cause certain catastrophes, mass riots, mass murder, within short periods of time. Direction of this matter should immediately be given over to the Alphabet Project, and as such, it should be carefully investigated as one of our nation's assets. I'm confident the research into this matter will contribute to our national interests. Furthermore, the supervision of riots caused by this matter can only be conducted by the Alphabet Board of Directors, which possesses extrajudicial authority. I hope that you will consider these factors before making your decision tomorrow. National Institute of Infectious Disease, head of room 13, Iwashi. So we're on the 11th day. As the disturbing atmosphere toward outsiders like the Mumbai family grew stronger, there was another change that fanned the anxiety of the villagers. The SDF had been supporting the villagers' unstable lifestyles as well as providing mental support, but they had suddenly disappeared from the village. They were pulled out. The elders, who hated standing around in long lines before the water supply trucks, had already lined up early. But no matter how long they waited, the trucks weren't showing up. At first, we made a generous assumption that something had delayed them. But the fact that the SDF deliveries had always been punctual for only worked against them, fanning anxieties even higher. Once it was long past the scheduled delivery time, the morning line grew steadily longer, and the anger they felt at the water trucks for not arriving grew into anxiety, and finally into fear. The situation rapidly grew worse, and finally people began whispering that the SDF had abandoned us. Anyone would be shocked after hearing that rumor. The actions of the SDF were the final dam maintaining the village's insanity. With that dam suddenly removed, it was easy to feel as though the village had been cast out of Japan. However, there were a few families who weren't frightened by the SDF's disappearance. They had taken an optimistic view and assumed the quarantine would be lifted. Those people even tried to leave the village. Yet something strange occurred at the barricades sealing us off. Instead of the personnel clad in white raincoats that had been manning the barricades before, there were soldiers blocking the path wearing much tougher looking camouflaged gear that was more like a spacesuit. They even had an armored car parked behind them, too. Now, why did the villagers insist on calling them soldiers? Because the guns they carried looked that dangerous. At the very least, none of the SDF members performing relief efforts had carried guns. Not only were the soldiers carrying their own guns, but the armored car also had a heavy machine gun stationed at its top hatch. And they aimed its muzzle at the villagers without hesitation. But aiming, they issued a warning too. This is the JGSDF. You are not permitted to leave the quarantine zone. Please return to your homes at once. Seeing and hearing that made them certain. Circumstances had changed. The commotion about this dangerous virus had progressed to the point where it was beyond the SDF's control. So they abandoned providing aid to the village and were trying to seal it away. That gave way to anger at the nation who abandoned their relief efforts, and even greater fear at the idea that things had regressed that poorly. The villagers tried to demand an explanation of affairs from the soldiers, but they fired live ammo without remorse, intending to intimidate, and announced that they would target their legs next if they did not leave immediately. The villagers then scattered like spiders and fled back to the village. Afterwards, their story grew exaggerated, and people started saying some of them were actually shot and wounded, or even dead, causing even further turmoil. Actually, there's still a chance that the part about warning fire was all made up too, but there's no way to verify that anymore, and no need to, because that story wasn't being proven false, so it had already become truth. On top of that, some kind of jamming waves were emitted from somewhere, suddenly making the radios useless, leaving word of mouth as the only means of communication, which increased the turmoil even further. That day, the first gunshot rang out in the village. We couldn't know for sure if the soldiers trapping us in had fired on the villager like the rumors suggested, or if some villager had fired their hunting rifle. But as that gunshot roared through the village, now it starts. The whole population fell away from the law and order of civilized Japan. The town council used their network to reach out and explain there was a mistake in the organization of relief efforts on the SDF side, and that due to the mistake it would be some time before the relief efforts resumed. They also asked the villagers to help one another until that time. Had that message been sent out before such great anxiety spread throughout the village, then they might have been able to improve things a little. But it was all too late. Even though the SDF had ceased supplying food and water, every house had at least some stored up. However, no one knew how long this delay of provisions would last. The noxious heated air permeating the village was steadily robbing people of their sanity. Fearing that some insurgent might descend upon them in search of food, the shopping district had banded together and armed all the shops, forming their own neighborhood watch. Barricades taken from the dam site were lined up at the entrance to the shopping district. Oh, yay! Now we're getting to the fun. Now each section is going to separate themselves from everyone else and make the situation worse. Oh, yep. This is going to be a fun part. We are closed indefinitely. If you have no business here, you may not set foot within. If you still insist on entering, then please discuss it with us on a case by case basis. Read the sign they had posted up where the residents of the shopping district took their turns standing watch with hunting rifles. I gotta make sure I constantly keep drinking. There was also another small flyer beside it. Those living in Takatsudo, please go away. That one was based on the rumors that the infected in Takatsudo. However, as the rumor continued to grow, there would likely be more signs posted next to it prohibiting other regions as well. For a moment, we thought that we might be able to have more interaction now that the SDF was no longer quarantining us separately, but the youth groups in each town council quickly took up that mantle of isolation. Everyone believed that their area had yet to become infected, and they could remain safe if they kept out people from the other areas. Himazawa was fundamentally a farming village, but there were several people who had made their livings through hunting since long ago. So the number of hunting rifles wasn't exactly small. Because of that, those who owned one volunteered to serve as guards. The number who volunteered directly translated into that town's council's power. Either that, or it became their power to blur the line between fantasy and reality in order to realize their delusions of persecution. That day, it was July 7th, the day of Tanabata. When we turned the television on, it displayed images of cute young children writing their wishes on boards and stretching out to hang them up on bamboo stalks. Yet here in Himazawa, our Tanabata involved posted signs rejecting the infected up on violent looking barricades, while many took up hunting rifles and glared at each other suspiciously. It was hard to believe this was still the same Japan. Oh, yay! Late at night, my mom visited me. She was clutching an envelope in her hand. Keiichi, just now received a letter for you. Keiichi, a letter to me? I snatched it up at once. It read to Kei-chan from me, as Mion. What was this about, and during such a dark time? According to my mother, the doorbell rang, and by the time she reached our front door, it was shoved through the gap. She could have just come in if she went out of her way to visit. So the fact that she avoided doing so and only left a letter had me feeling a tinge anxious. Oh, great. Though considering the abnormal state of the village lately, it made sense that Mion would be careful about trying to make contact. All the talk of this being an indigenous virus or being Urashio-sama's wrath would ultimately end up with those people suspecting the outsiders who moved into town recently. The whole Mabara family was made painfully aware of that lately. Even before opening this letter, I could understand that things had reached the point where Mion, as Sonozaki couldn't visit us in broad daylight anymore. And yet, the contents of this letter quickly informed me that it was still a naive that was still a naive point of view. Oh great. What's her letter say? Oh, to Kei-chan, be careful. The idea that we should make an example out of the bars and Ragus is gaining more strength in our council area. The Ragus are Rena's family. I know it's a really crazy idea, but they're already been driven to the point where they'll be consumed by fear if they don't sacrifice someone. I was only able to argue otherwise the first few times, but starting several days ago, if anyone tried to object, they argued that person was covering for the infected because they were infected too. Now, no one's putting a stop to this talk of lynching you all. It was fine back when we were all evenly split between the virus supporters and the Urashiro-sama curse supporters since they both just argue incoherently with each other. But lately, the curse supporters are gaining ground. Oh, yay. It won't be long before they're leading the whole group. If my granny were well, she'd never allow such a riot. But she actually came down with a fever a few days ago, and now she can't get out of bed. Some of my relatives have started spreading rumors that it's the infection, so I'm losing my ability to speak at the council too. Like if I'm not careful, they could sacrifice me as well. With the position I'm in now, it's going to be hard for me to speak on behalf of your and Rena's families anymore. I could see that Mion's writing had steadily grown more hesitant and sloppy as it went on. I didn't even have to ask to understand how she must have felt. I think it's dangerous staying Himas out any longer than this. At the very least, if we stay shut up in our homes like this, then sooner or later we'll be murdered. So I'm planning to escape the village tomorrow night. The SDF is blocking off the perimeter, but the Sonozakis have secret tunnels, and one of them exits out beyond the quarantine. Me and Granny are the only ones who know about these tunnels. I wanted to wait until after she recovered, but that doesn't look possible anymore. My granny just told me to leave her behind and run. My granny was saying that this is the return of the ancient legend of demons coming out from the Onigafuchi swamp. So again, something comes from the swamp to kill the village. Hint, hint, hint. Right now, all the villagers are possessed by demons and they're going to start murdering each other. In those legends, Urashiro-sama managed to calm everyone down. But before they were able to do so, the blood-soaked conflict they produced resulted in a massive number of casualties. They're going to kill us all. That brings me to the main point. Tell your family tonight about all this and have them get ready, Kei-chan. I'll come for you all tomorrow night, and then we'll escape. Bring your cash, insurance card, bank book, and family seal. Also, fill your backpack with clothes and daily necessities, but don't let it get too heavy. Don't bring anything you have to carry. Make absolutely certain you can use both hands, in case you have to fight. For shoes, wear a comfortable pair you can walk easily in. I'm sending the same letter to Rena as well. And Rena's will say sending the same letter to Kei-chan. This might seem like it's coming out of left field, so I doubt it feels real to you just yet. But trust me, I've been to the town council meeting and the gathering of the three families, so I have a very clear idea on just how crazy this village has become. You need to understand how dangerous this is. Even if you have faith in and do everything I've asked, I'm estimating only a 10% possibility at best of you, me, Rena, and our families all escaping Himazawa safely. That was the end of Mion's letter. Oh shit. What the hell? This whole situation was too much for me to take in, and so I gripped my head. Yet Mion had entrusted this letter to me and asked me to trust her, knowing I'd feel that way. Once I took 3 deep breaths, I was able to realize that danger Mion spoke of wasn't too far-fetched, considering the festering attitude that had filled Himazawa lately. What she had written was unmistakably true. At the same time, that made me fear for Sakato. It made sense the letter didn't mention Rika, who the SDF had in custody, but there wasn't a single word written there about Sakato, who'd been left in this village all alone. The only names on it were mine and Rena's. There's no way Mion could have forgotten about the club members, so there's no way she'd forget to mention Sakato. So then why? Terrible imaginations assailed my mind, each of them trying to suffocate me. That's right, Mion already mentioned her. She told us that there were those who seriously believed that Orishio-sama's anger would subside if Sakato were offered up as a sacrifice. No way, is Sakato? I shot up from my seat, and the metal bat leaning against the bookshelf fell down, stopping against my feet. So he already has the bat. Now the fights will start. It was almost like it was telling me to take it with me. Yeah. That was when I heard a gunshot. If this had been a normal peaceful day, I would have assumed it was some kid having fun by setting off firecrackers or bottle rockets. Because we were in such an abnormal situation, I didn't make those wrong assumptions, encouraged as they were by times of peace. I opened my curtain and strained to peer into the darkness when I heard another gunshot. It sounded like it was even closer this time. I thought I could hear someone shouting something nearby. Suddenly, our doorbell rang frantically. Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. It's Shion. My mind became clear. All unnecessary noise vanished from my thoughts. Felt like I didn't even need to breathe. And in that vacuum state, I picked up the metal bat at my feet and raced for the front door. At the entrance, I found my mom cowering and my dad running in from the kitchen with a carving knife. Up until a moment ago, I would have thought it's strange for my dad to respond so violently, but in this exact moment, that's actually felt like the proper response. My mom looked back at my dad, wondering if it was safe to open the door. He had her step away from it. The button for our doorbell was pressed at our gate. So whoever had pressed it had now come through our gate and was standing right in front of the house. Then there was a bang, 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 knocking violently on our door. Who is it? My father shouted. They answered immediately. It's Ragu. It's Rena. Please let me in. It's Rena. I leapt out from behind my father. From the sound of Rena's voice, this was an emergency and we needed to open the door right away. Even if we were plunged into a nightmare situation where the villagers had started a bloodbath, we club members would never doubt each other. What? Mion? Are you alright? She's not alright. We need to hurry and stop the bleeding. Rena was carrying a blood-soaked Mion whose breathing was fading fast. Asking if she was alright was just a waste of time. Not even a social courtesy. After that cry from Rena, we carried Mion and past our door and laid her on the floor. Mion's left shoulder was badly injured. Her clothes were stained red with blood. Her clothes were supposed to be yellow. The shirt Mion loved to wear in her free time. That bright yellow shirt she always wore once school was over. That symbol of all of our fun times together. That shirt that I was always happy to see was now completely stained, purest red. Hey, she needs help. Grab a towel or something. Mion was holding her wound with a handkerchief, but the blood continued to spill from it. Her handkerchief would have dripped blood if it were wrung out. It was impossible to tell what color or design it used to be, and whether it was Mion's favorite. What on earth happened? Rena, what's going on here? My father asked without putting away his knife. Rena frowned, having difficulty deciding where to even begin. Her expression made it clear that we didn't have time for her to explain. But did we even need an explanation? The bright red blood staining her body from when she carried me on was better than any words at conveying the urgency of the situation. Also, we could soon explain it. much faster than any explanation Rena might produce, because moments later we heard a tremendous bang outside our front door. Did she have a gunshot wound? We realized the situation at a moment of despair. She was shot. Someone had shot her outside our house. Rena with the machete! Ah! Rena spun around at the sound of that shot, all while raising a huge hatchet she had carried in one hand, even while carrying me on. I gripped my bat and chased after Rena, my feet still bare. I didn't even hear my father calling for me behind us. Rena! Now the fight. Rena leapt on someone standing at our front gate, ruthlessly splitting his head open with her hatchet. The moment was unbelievable and all too short. Now the club will fight. Yeah, the Himazawa syndrome has triggered fully. Rena easily brandished her huge hatchet at another man and threw it at him with tremendous force, chopping his head off. Silver glint of moonlight flashed off the blade as it soared into the man's face. The man let out a short cry as a small dark spray spewed from his head. My understanding of typical social morals made my brain want to shout, "What are you doing, Rena?" But I also wanted to know who was such a threat that they warranted this reaction. Once Rena reached the man stumbling around with his hatchet in her face, she roughly yanked it out, then slammed a long hatchet into his head over and over. The man begged repeatedly for her to stop, but Rena didn't listen to him at all. Once she confirmed he wasn't moving anymore, she spoke. Killing someone means you're ready to be killed in return, so don't take it lightly. It was also like those words were meant for me. From Rena's perspective, I probably looked like I was still too accustomed to peace to understand the emergency we faced. But that was when Rena turned and shouted, "That man's still alive." Huh? Oh. First man, the man Rena first defeated, the man that fired a gun at our front door, was clutching his forehead and trying to stand. He was already injured so badly we could probably let him go. But that thought was probably just me clinging to peace. Rena didn't have that thought at all. The man was holding his head with one hand, but his other was still holding his hunting rifle. The threat this man posed wasn't dealt with, as he could still pull the trigger on his gun. Ah! Thick lump of metal swung. I hate when it does that. Into him once more. This time the man's head cracked open. Rena turned back and glared at me. I was closest to that man, not Rena. Rena had shouted so I could take him down, yet I stood there spacing out so Rena attacked him. He had a gun. If he had been quicker, Rena couldn't have done anything from her position. That's why she entrusted him to me. But I just stood there blankly, still unable to grasp the situation. Her stern expression made me realize that, so I immediately apologized. Sorry. It's fine, just hurry. Rena yanked her hatchet out of the man's head and picked up his gun with her other hand. Even if you don't shoot, a gun can still be used to frighten opponents. Ugh, right. That's fine, just hurry up and get ready to run. Huh, didn't Mion say she'd come tomorrow in the letter she wrote? There goes my false sense of security. Oh yeah, but tell me, what on earth happened? I asked Ren as we ran back to my front door. You got a letter from her too, right, Keiichi? Mi-chan brought the same letter over to my house. That was when the neighborhood watch discovered her and shot her. Mi-chan hadn't done anything to them. All she did was deliver a letter to me and they shot her. They said the Ragus were infected and anyone interacting with them was an ally of the affected, so they decided that all on their own. And they shot her for it. Mi-chan hadn't done anything to them, but they didn't care and they shot her anyway. Rena's eyes were full of anger and sadness as tears spilled down her cheeks. There wasn't anything I could say to her while she was possessed by those powerful emotions. When we returned to my front door, Mion had been given a towel for the blood. My mother was with her, helping her put pressure on the wound. My mother was all shook up. The only medicines we kept in the house were band-aids, headache medicine, and cold medicine at best. We didn't have anything to help treat a gunshot wound. Rena came back into our house with more blood splattered on her clothes and staining her hatchet. Given the commotion that just happened, my father understood everything once he saw the hunting rifle in Rena's hands. Once Rena understood that he did too, she spoke. Sir, if we don't flee this place right now, we'll die. My own father was already murdered. Just now. He tried to save Michan, so they didn't even hesitate. They shot him as easily as they were driving off crows. Can't believe it. I can't believe it. Mion's mouth opened feebly after hearing Rena's screams. I'm sorry, Rena. If I hadn't screwed up, I'm really sorry. It's not your fault, Michan, and I don't hate anyone anymore. Those who deserve my hatred have all paid the proper price. She's killed them all! So did the man who shot you, Michan. She killed him! Just moments ago, Rena watched her father get murdered and Mion get shot. And then she dragged herself out of that hell, where even her own life was in danger. The expression on her face was one I had never glimpsed in our daily lives. It made me realize just how hellish it all had been for her. Anyway, you need to get ready to run right now. The others are already closing in. Why? What are the villagers coming here for? What are they trying to do? There's no need to ask for an answer from Mion's bloody mouth. That was why my father swallowed his confusion, and after clearing his throat, simply asked one thing. Run? To where? There's a hidden tunnel in Michan's secret basement that none of the villagers know about. So long as we can make it there, we should be able to pull through. Rena explained what was written in the letter on Mion's behalf. Mion still tried to explain, but ended up coughing instead. Dad, Mom, we don't have a moment to waste. Let's run. Right. Let's go. My father registered depressing danger, and it only took several seconds to abandon his morals as an average member of normal society before nodding. But my mother couldn't make a quick decision. But if we run, what will happen to our home? We don't know what's going to happen. If the villagers come here, they may very well burn our house down. But if my mother understood that, then her hesitation didn't make any sense. If they were willing to burn down our house, then what good would holding up inside do? Who knows what they would do to us then? My mother was an idiot. Well, maybe that's exactly why she was so confused. At this moment, my father, who had been on edge since the first day of the quarantine, was the one acting reasonable. Still, my mother managed to regain some sense. So she went back in and grabbed only her handbag with our bank book. My father took the hunting rifle from Rena. He boasted that he knew how to handle one after using a similar type of air gun, but it was up to the listener to determine how reassuring that sounded. Mion told us to leave her behind since she only slowed us down, but Rena slapped her hard after that suggestion. Ooh, no, without you we won't know where the secret basement is. Don't abandon your responsibility so lightly. Now take us there. With you around, I can't die an easy death at all. No shit. Looked like Mion had recovered enough energy to talk back at least. We can't leave her, but we can't leave her wound untreated forever. If we don't get a proper doctor to look at her, then all that blood loss will lead to disaster. Mii-chan? We don't have time to debate this, so give me an answer. Rena glared at Mion with a dry expression and asked her just one thing. Why were you suggesting we should escape without Sakato? There it is! Yeah, I wondered that myself. What's going on with Sakato, Mion? She's in a worse position than me and Rena, right? We can't just leave Sakato behind. Sakato's Mion trailed off. Uh-oh. But Rena wasn't allowing her to get away with just that. If she's dead, then just tell us. If you don't, then we're going to believe she's still alive. Without thinking, I narrowed my eyes tight. That image of the worst possible outcome crossed my mind more than once or twice. There's no way Mion would ever forget about Sakato, yet her name was absent from the letter she wrote us. That left only one possible reason, even if I was able to imagine why, but I couldn't put it into words. Sakato's been taken away by those rioters from before. They said they were dragging her to Onigatfuchi. Apparently, they're going to spend 3 days submerging her, according to the rituals passed down in the village. So she's still alive, but they're going to drown her. And there it is! The double unison. So she's alive. She's still alive then, at least for now. Ren and I both latched on Mion at once. However, neither of us had any thought of blaming Mion for nearly abandoning Sakato. Mion used the information she was able to gather as a Sonozaki to make a logical decision. And after bitter deliberation, she decided she wouldn't be able to save her. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything about it. The council's officials took the lead, and after they added the shrine group, the youth group, the neighborhood watch, and other volunteers from the village, their numbers swelled past 100 people. The watch was close with the hunting club, too, so they're armed with at least 20 shotguns and rifles. Everyone keeps spouting Orishio-sama, like they've all been possessed. There's no mercy left in them. If I tried to protect Sakato, the villagers would have shot me to death without hesitation, like they did to you and to my father. Mion nodded bitterly as tears spilled from her eyes. She wept at her own lack of power to stop them, and for the lost lives of the villagers who still tried to uphold justice. I don't understand why. Everyone was normal just 3 days ago. They were reasonable then, but they've gone mad in just the past 72 hours. Their eyes are bloodshot and they lost all reason. They didn't go crazy just because the SDF left. They went crazy before then. The killer virus isn't what's scary now. It's everyone in the village. I have a few thoughts. This virus, it isn't one that drives people to death, but one that drives people to madness. Again, Himizawa syndrome. Making the villagers become demons, one after another. Just try retracing the legend of Urashio's Comet once more. Urashio-sama's curse. Onigafuchi, demon village. Basically, demons would come down from Onigafuchi and kill people every single day. Urashio-sama was the one that stopped it by making the villages both live together. Himizawa. So yeah. And her